Whether the team is performing clean or unsightly, we'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, bad news for the good guys, as Deshazer Everett, a guy that I really took a strong liking to and felt like could be a part of the future at the safety position, and still very well might be. A team captain on this football team, a guy that stepped in and was pressed into service after a lackluster start to the season by Troy Apke, and I thought he hit the ground running. And I had said, where has this guy been this entire time? This is a guy that's been on the roster for like 5 years and never really got an opportunity to play. And this year he got the opportunity, and I thought he was exceptional. And I said, this is what the game's missing at the safety position. And just like that, he's gone. And we missed him for a couple of weeks, and we were dying for him to get back. And we didn't even get to enjoy him for 2 whole weeks. And now he's gone again. Deshazer Everett, surgery on his shoulder, placed on IR, done for the season. Now we got to go back to Troy Apke and Jeremy Reeves. I think Jack Del Rio spoke at the podium today, and he wouldn't specify who, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. I think I know what's going to happen. I think you know what's going to happen. I'm nervous. I'm not going to lie to you. There was a level of comfort with, having Deshazer back there. I can't tell you how many plays Shays has made, how many touchdowns he's saved this season. I think about the Cowboys game the first time around and him saving the touchdown on the takeoff route in the end zone to CeeDee Lamb. I think about the touchdown he saved 2 weeks ago against Pittsburgh. Eric Ebron is going to catch that touchdown on John Bostic, and Shays comes out of nowhere, knocks it away. Like, this guy is always Johnny on the spot. Even last week, there's a catch by Kendrick Bourne out on the right sideline that if Shays doesn't make that tackle, he might be gone. And Shays is the last line of defense, and he gets him on the ground. And that's not always the case. Remember, he missed the tackle against Pittsburgh that allowed James Washington to score the 50-yard touchdown. At the end of the day, this guy was an integral part of this defense. We lost a massive piece of this defense. Jeremy Reeves has played well when he's filled in, but he's not the enforcer. He's not the same guy as Deshazer Everett. We just lost a big piece of this defense. I don't know if you guys understand what just transpired. I'm hurt by this one. This one stinks. And you're going up against a savvy Seattle Seahawks team, and you're going up against DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and all these guys that are difference makers, and now we're missing a difference maker on defense. And he's not coming back this year. So whether we make it to the playoffs or not, you have shoulder surgery, you're done for the rest of the year. And that's what Deshazer Everett had yesterday, and so he is done for the season. That's a big blow to this defense, and I don't think a lot of you understand just how big of a blow it is. And you might not realize it until you see Troy Apke out there and somebody's behind our defense, and then you'll remember, oh, yeah, that's why Deshazer Everett matters so much. As I mentioned to you, I think they have a solution to the problem. But again, you don't really feel injuries as much until they ravage you at one particular position. They're starting to take effect at safety. We felt, in limited capacity, the impact of injuries at the tackle position. We were able to go deep into the bag of tricks and even had to flip Morgan Moses over from left to right, or from right to left, but we were able to suffice. We were able to get by at tackle. We're running out of safeties. We're running out of bodies. We're running out of guys that we trust. I think we're down to the last guy that I actually trust. I've taken a small liking to Jeremy Reeves. We're going to see if he can step in and fill the void that was left by Deshazer Everett. It's a big void. But now you're looking at a safety position that it consists of Cameron Curl, Jeremy Reeves, Troy Apke, and now Cole Luke is going to step in as the fourth safety on this football team. He's a special teams demon from Carolina that they brought over a few weeks ago. He's been playing. If you haven't been paying attention, then you would have missed him easily on special teams. But this is a guy that they like, and he's here, and that's the guy that's going to serve as the fourth safety on the roster. Let's hope that we don't get to Cole Luke. Let's just hope we don't have to get to Troy Apke. Okay, let's just do that. And I think that's who's the replacement is going to be. Is going to be Jeremy Reeves. I think they've seen enough of Troy Apke. Even though Rivera at his presser said, hey, Apke is getting better with his depth perception and taking angles. He used the term depth perception. But we all know that he has a tough time locating the football, how far away he is from it, what's the proper angle for me to take to get there, to get to the ball carrier. He has a problem tackling as well. He loves to overrun guys, Ole style. So let's hope we don't even get to Troy Apke. It'd be nice if we could keep dirty 30 on the sidelines and just roll with 39 and 31. So big blow for Washington, but as always, you got to move on. There's nothing you can do about it. Can't cry over spilt milk with this late in the season. Just got to find a way. Just got to find a way. So in other news we go. And heard from Rivera, heard from Jack Del Rio. We'll talk about those pressers a little bit later on. But before we do that, as we always do, on Thursdays, as we shift our focus to our upcoming opponent this week, the Seattle Seahawks are the team on the docket looking to make it 5 in a row, are these hungry Washington football team players. And so let's take a look at who's in, who's out, who's practicing, who's not, and what the forecast is for. We had a lot of injuries. I don't know if you guys understand. We sustained, obviously, Deshazer was one of the bigger ones. But we sustained a ton of injuries. I told you it was a physical game that took a toll on us. That's part of the reason why I was like, man, Seattle got the Jets. They ran all over them 40-3. And I don't know if the game was as physical for them as this game was for us. But we had a lot of guys. Jonathan Allen did not finish the game. Deshazer Everett did not finish the game. KPL did not finish the game. We had a lot of guys that got injured and did not return to this game. So there are a lot of guys that I'm looking at and saying, you're probably not going to play this weekend. As we just found out, Deshazer Everett is not going to play for the remainder of the season. So that game against San Francisco came at a cost. We lost some guys. I don't know for how long, but we had some guys not be able to return to action. Let's take a look at the injury report heading into week number 15. And I already told you guys Antonio Gibson is not going to play this week. And I've told you that. I was confident in that when he first sustained the injury. And he has not practiced this week. Did not practice on Wednesday. Did not practice today. So he's not going to play this week, guys. And I told you, I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't play next week either. You know, I think the first time that he'll really be considered is week 16 versus Carolina. I think that's when he's got a realistic shot, which is next week. But I told you, week 17 is what I'm targeting against the Philadelphia Eagles. But we shall see. It'd be great if he could come back next week against Carolina, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Alex Smith, we all know about the calf muscle. We've talked about that ad nauseum. He did not practice today either. I told you, I don't think he's going to practice this week, but I think he does have an outside shot of playing. Right now, I put it at 50-50 shot, whether he plays or not. I think they're just playing it safe with the reps at practice. I think he's still going to play, but we'll see what happens. Kevin Pierre-Lewis also did not practice today. He's not going to play. Got an ankle injury. We saw a couple of guys with ankle injuries miss 2 weeks apiece in Cornelius Lucas and Deshazer Everett. After that Lions game, both of those guys sustained ankle injuries. Neither of them played for the next 2 weeks. So I surmise that we will be without KPL for at minimum 2 weeks. Probably won't see him again until, more likely than not, the season finale versus the Philadelphia Eagles. We will see. I will say that in his absence, I thought another three-namer stepped up and played really well in Sean Dion Hamilton. So one three-namer goes out, another one comes in, and I didn't think there was much of a drop-off, even though Kevin Pierre-Lewis is a guy that I really like a lot. And he had a hell of a blitz and sack in the game on Sunday. Thomas Davis Sr. Did not practice. He was a limited participant today. He did not practice on Wednesday. Non-injury related, just more of, along the lines of rest. So if they need him, and more likely than not with the injury to KPL, he's a guy that will be seeing probably a bigger role, which, scares the hell out of me. Peyton Barber, ankle injury. Didn't even know he sustained an injury in the game. Limited participant yesterday. Limited participant again today. I think, now we know why. We didn't know before. Now we know why they went out and they signed Lamar Miller. There it is. There's your answer right there. Peyton Barber, ankle injury. Okay? Without that injury, and I told you, I still don't expect Lamar Miller to see the field unless J.D. McKissic or Peyton Barber go down before Antonio Gibson comes back. To me, I just don't see any reason for Lamar Miller to see the field. But here's your answer right here. Ankle injury to Peyton Barber, limited in practice the first 2 days of the week. I surmise he's going to be able to play, but that's something worth keeping an eye on. And then Jonathan Allen, I told you he didn't finish the game versus San Francisco. Tim Settle had to take his spot. A groin injury. He was limited on Wednesday. He was limited again on Thursday. Jonathan Allen's a warrior. He's going to play. If he can walk, he's going to play. I mean, I remember we got a scare with Allen in preseason or in training camp where he had an injury and we were like, oh my God, what's going on? And he was back like 2-3 days later. So Allen's going to find a way to get out there on the football field and hopefully he's able to be effective. But we got some injuries, man. And Deshazer's not listed here, but we got some injuries. So, but our injury list pales in comparison to that of the Seattle Seahawks. Their list is the longest I've seen by far this season, and it's not even close. We're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys here. And I got another list that's probably every bit of another 10, 11 guys. So it's a long list. And they're one of those teams that documents everything because they could have left like 6 or 7 of these dudes off the list, but they decided to put them up there anyway. We'll talk about that a little bit later on because the guys you see here are the guys that you really need to concern yourselves with. The guys at the back end of the list are guys that are going to play. They were full participants already on Wednesday and on Thursday, and they're going to play more likely than not this Sunday. But Travis Homer, rookie running back out of Miami, knee injury, didn't practice. More likely than not, he won't play in this game. Didn't play last week. I don't think he's going to play this week. Carlos Dunlap II, this is a new development. Foot injury, didn't practice on Wednesday. Keep an eye on that. He may just be out on Wednesday, precautionary reasons, practice on Thursday, limited, go full on Friday, and he's ready to go. We'll see. But right now, if he can't go, he's one of the difference makers that has changed the tide on defense for Seattle. So if he can't go, this is a guy that they traded for at the trade deadline. If he can't go, that's a big blow to their defense. I told you they were all kinds of banged up along their offensive line, specifically at right tackle in particular. Jamarco Jones, tackle/guard, out of Ohio State, groin injury, did not practice. I would be shocked if he'd played, okay? That's a guy that's missed a game already, and I think he's going to miss another one. Brandon Shell, another guy that's been in and out of the lineup. He's a tackle. Ankle injury, didn't practice on Wednesday. Again, Thursday will tell the story for me. If both of those guys don't practice on Thursday, I'm going to go ahead and say that they're not going to play on Sunday. And that's huge because we could be getting a really banged up Seattle Seahawks offensive line. Demarius Randall, foot injury, did not practice. He's a safety. I didn't even know he was on their roster, to be honest with you. So that's news to me. Carlos Hyde, running back, toe injury, limited participant in practice. I think he's going to end up playing. I love me some Carlos Hyde. If you've watched me long enough, you know how I feel about Carlos Hyde. Dwayne Brown, you know him as one of the better tackles. Knee resting vet. So that tells you all you need to know. If they classify it as they're resting a veteran, that tells you he's going to play on Sunday. Now we're starting to get to the guys that I think are going to play. Ryan Neal. As you get to all of those limited guys, Carlos Hyde, Dwayne Brown, and now Ryan Neal, a safety with a heel injury, all of those guys were limited, which tells me they've got a good shot at making it happen on Sunday. As we move on this list of Seahawks, guard Mike Iupati with a knee limited, more likely than not going to play. Chris Carson, running back, foot. He's been on the injury report for the last 6 weeks, but he's played the last 2 weeks. I surmise he's going to play and make it a third straight week that he plays. Might even be a 4 straight weeks at this point. Phil Haynes, guard, groin injury, limited, more likely than not be available this Sunday. Cedric Aboyhe, this is a guy that they got in free agency out from Cincinnati. Tackle, calf muscle, full participants. So once you get to these guys with full, if they have another full tomorrow, more likely than not, they're playing. So, again, they didn't have to put all these full guys up here. They just listed everybody. But these guys, Cedric Ogbuehi, Will Dissly, their tight end, Kyle Fuller, their center guard, Freddie Swain, their rookie receiver out of Florida, DJ Reed, cornerback, Jamal Adams, their prized safety, Colby Parkinson, rookie tight end out of Stanford, Jaron Reed, defensive tackle, and DK Metcalf, wide receiver. All of these guys are going to play. All of them were full participants. They're just on the injury report as a precautionary measure. I would guess that Seattle's been fined at some point for not disclosing an injury or two, because this is excessive if you ask me. So all of these guys that you see here, I told you there were 8 on the first list, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 guys on the injury report. Are you kidding me? They could have left these last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys off. This list should comprise of about 11 guys, seriously. But nonetheless, that's what it looks like for Seattle heading into week number 15. We'll keep tabs on that. Like I said, more than half of that list is going to play on Sunday. So there's probably about a realistic shot that 5 or 6 of those guys don't go, but the rest of them are probably going to be ready for Sunday and the game versus Washington. So Jack Del Rio, Ron Rivera stepped to the podium today. Ron, I told you he was ornery yesterday. Short presser for him. We've seen press conferences with Ron. They usually average right around 18 to 20 minutes. We've seen pressers with Ron, especially after a win, that'll go 29, 30 minutes. Yesterday's presser was 12 minutes. So, Ron was not in the mood yesterday. Today was more like it, 19-minute presser from Ron. And he spoke about a number of different topics. Obviously, Deshazer Everett was one. He talked about AGG. He talked about Antonio Gibson. So let's go through the gamut of injury updates to get those out of the way first. Obviously, Deshazer done for the season, placed on IR with a shoulder injury, had surgery on it. He's done. That's as I mentioned at the top of the show, that's a really big blow to this defense. Talked about AGG. And he continues to talk about conditioning. He keeps talking about conditioning. We want to put him out there when he's 100% ready. That makes me believe that maybe we won't see AGG come off the injury reserve list this week. Maybe they'll take it all the way up until the deadline, which is next week, because they have 21 days. That clock started last week. Maybe they won't activate him until next week. I thought it would be this week. Listening to him last week talk, I thought it would be this week. Listening to him talk today, he sounded like he did last week, which makes me think that we're going to have the same result that we had last week, which is he's not active. So stay tuned for that. There's no setback with AGG, though. It's all about them feeling comfortable activating him and putting him back on the active roster. And then finally, Antonio Gibson, no practice today. I told you he's not going to play. Don't look for him until next week. At the earliest, I still think week 17 is probably the first time we'll see him back in action. But as far as everyone else is concerned, everybody else at least practiced on a limited basis. So I think you're going to see a lot of J.D. McKissick, a lot of Peyton Barber, just like last week. And you may even see a smatter of Javon Leak, the rookie undrafted running back out of Maryland. So that's something to keep an eye on, especially with a compromised Peyton Barber. Lamar Miller won't be ready this week. You have to go through COVID protocols. It usually takes up to 6 days to do that. So he's not going to be available this week. So you're going to have to try to make do with what you have, and we'll see what they do. They may revisit that next week, and maybe you'll get Antonio Gibson back next week, and we'll see. Anyway, Ron talked about this team and, continues to talk about the growth of this team. He talked about Russell Wilson and how dangerous he is. Talked about his recovery process with cancer and how he's still not quite where he wants to be. But he's making, strides, but he's still not quite 100% where he wants to be. Talked about wanting to be more involved this time around in terms of, coaching. When he was in Carolina, he said, look, I really didn't have much to do with the offense. I was really just kind of hanging around the defense a ton. I said this time around I wanted to be a little bit more hands-on offensively, and he has been this year. if you listen to Ron. So, he talked about a number of different topics about this team and the direction that they're going in and the confidence level. He talked about them, growing confidence. There was a question that was tossed at him about this team being an underdog again this week versus Seattle. And is, are they, pushing that narrative of being an underdog and us against the world type of mentality. And, he said, yeah, but not really. Like, we know what we are. We know who we are and we know what we're perceived as. And we just want to go out there and just prove to ourselves, what we're capable of. So, he acknowledged the fact that, yeah, we're going to play the whole, underdog angle, because what team doesn't use that for motivation? What team doesn't use that as fuel? If they're giving it to you as ammunition, why not fire it off? So, obviously, that's the low-hanging fruit, though. If you're a coach, it's easy to grab, and sometimes it works just fine. But a lot of times, if you're a coach, you got to go beyond that. It's easy to pull the underdog card because players always feed into that. They always buy into that narrative. But as a coach, you got to be able to get past that. I can't always use the underdog card to motivate you. If somebody gives us some bulletin board material, if we feel really disrespected and slighted, yeah, you pull the underdog card then. It's going to work to perfection in that situation. But you can't pull that every single week. Against Pittsburgh, yeah, that was the time to pull that card. Nobody was giving us a chance. We were double-digit underdogs. Everybody thought we were going to lose. The Steelers were undefeated, yada, yada, yada. Everything I could tell you that, what pointed to us losing that game. And we had nothing to lose. Everybody thinks you stink and everybody thinks you're unworthy. Go out there and prove them wrong. And we did. So, now 3 wins later, like nobody's looking at you as this, oh my God, charity case. You don't stand a chance. I think everybody understands and acknowledges that, hey, this team doesn't stink. They don't suck. But you're not supposed to be the 9-4 Seattle team with Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf. So, there is that. But, he talked about the leadership with Chase Young and the moment he realized that this guy, had the ability to be vocal and, not just with his voice, but with his play on the field. He said he figured that out back in training camp when in a red zone practice period, Chase Young got into the backfield and hit Adrian Peterson for a tackle for loss. And that's when Ron said, okay, this kid's special and he's going to be a leader on this team. Vocally, on the field, off the field. Like, this is a guy we can look to, as a young guy. So I thought Ron was pretty solid today. As far as Jack Del Rio was concerned, Jack pretty much voiced what I just voiced to you, which is that Deshazer Everett injury stung. Because Jack thought he figured it out at safety. It was a big issue early in the season. It got rectified. Then we kind of had some mixed results when Deshazer was out. And then when he got back in the lineup, the defense got back to playing exceptional football against Pittsburgh and San Francisco. Now he's out again. And, it's sketchy at best with him not back there. So I think they're going to go. Jack would not disclose. He was asked directly, who's going to get the nod? Is it going to be Jeremy or Troy? Without saying anything, he pretty much told me all I needed to know. He's like, look, Ron, I don't know about Ron, but I don't really like talking about those things. So, but we got an idea what we want to do. It's going to be Jeremy. All right. It's going to be Jeremy Reeves. They've already gone down the Troy Apke road enough times to know what that guy is capable of. And he's capable of giving it up big time, deep. And I think they're just going to say, let's see what happens with Jeremy Reeves. Can't be any worse than Troy Apke. Can't be any worse. So Ron also talked about this defense. He talked about Chase Young and Montez Sweat and the pair that they make, the tag team that they are becoming. And he was asked, can you tell when you've got an elite defense or a great defense or a really good defense? Do you already know that when you come in? Or is there something that you see that there's this direct correlation and link between all of the great defenses that you've coached? And he's like, nah, like just the expectation is to be great. Like, that's you set the bar high and then you go and you try to hit it. So, that's all we're doing with this team, essentially, according to Jack, is that we're just trying to be the best versions of ourselves. And if we do that, we know we got enough talent on this football team to be an excellent defense. And that's been shown to be the case thus far. So Jack talked about the challenge, and I knew he was going to get into this. of stopping the Seattle Seahawks. He's like, yo, they got the number 4 rated offense in the league. Russell Wilson is a dog. DK Metcalf is a problem. Like, these are all things that we're fully aware of. He mentioned Darrell Bevell, their offensive coordinator, Schottenheimer. I think their coordinator is Brian Schottenheimer. And he's like, he does a phenomenal job. And he's like, it's going to be a tough task. And somebody brought up that, hey, this is the first time your defense has seen a top-rated offense since week 4 against the Rams. We haven't seen a top-rated offense, a top 5, top 10 offense since week 4. Think about that. Let that sink in. I mean, we've played a lot of football since week 4, but we haven't seen elite offense since week 4. When you see a steady diet of the Giants, the Cowboys, the Bengals, the Lions, the Steelers, the 49ers, you don't see elite offenses in that group. And so you maybe get this warped image of what you really are as a defense. I think they've gained confidence, and I think they're a different defense now than they were in week 4, obviously, when they last played a top-notch offense and was really made to look silly in that game, if you recall. However, this is a different group. They're playing with a different swag and a different confidence, and I think you're going to see a much better product on the field defensively than you did earlier in the season when we played against some good offenses and struggled. So I'm looking forward to the challenge, and Jack pretty much said the same thing, looking forward to the challenge and the task at hand of trying to contain Russ, which is not easy, but it's doable. And so we got to go out and we got to execute our keys and do the things that we've been coached to do, essentially, is what Jack pretty much said. So with that, we move on to our first look at this upcoming matchup versus Seattle. 9-4 Seahawks, tied for first place in the NFC West division, come in having, hit a little rough patch there. They got past the Eagles. It wasn't pretty. Then they fall to the Giants at home with Colt McCoy at quarterback. But luckily enough for them, they bounced back with a Jets team that is just awful and beat them up 40-3. So they're coming in here feeling good about themselves. Meanwhile, Washington 6-7, winners of 4 straight, playing inspired football. And this feels really good to see, what Washington is embarking upon. However, this is the best team we've seen offensively during this stretch. That includes Pittsburgh. But their defense is not the Steelers' defense. And I think we will have opportunities if Alex Smith is healthy and able to play in this game. I think we will have some opportunities. And I just want you to understand, Alex Smith has not been good. Alex Smith, I haven't seen the Alex Smith from the Giants game or the Lions game since Detroit. Like, he was average at best versus Cincinnati. I thought he was just as average as could be against Dallas. And I thought he was okay, a little maybe above average against Pittsburgh. I thought he left a lot out of the field, as I mentioned. I thought he left a lot on the field against the Steelers. And I showed you some of that on IG. I did not think he was great against the Steelers. And I thought he was just awful versus the 49ers. I mean, he was like Robert Griffin III 2014 bad. 2014, I think it was. 2014 bad. Robert Griffin III 2014 bad. I remember when Chris Cooley said he was so bad I couldn't even grade the rest of the football team. Alex was that bad. Like, I shouldn't say that, because Alex can function. He can at least get us into the right plays and go where the ball is supposed to go. Robert couldn't even do that. So I walked that statement back. But he was awful. I told you, I didn't recognize that guy. I didn't even know who that guy was. That wasn't the number 11 that I knew in Washington. So we're going to need him to play a lot better. But we're going to need him to play in particular if we're going to really have a legitimate shot of beating Seattle. I don't think it goes out the window if he doesn't play. I think Dwayne is fully capable of just managing the game. I just don't trust him to manage at a high enough level to give us a chance. So this is an interesting matchup. We haven't fared well against mobile quarterbacks this year. Obviously, we saw the 2 elite mobile quarterbacks in the league, in Russell Wilson, and Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson, now we're seeing the guy that's probably the next step down in Russell Wilson. And we got to play a lot better than we did the first 2 times this season that we saw mobile quarterbacks. Now, he's a different type of mobile quarterback than that of Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray. There are not as many, diagrammed and scripted runs for him. They're not as many keepers and things that they are looking to get him on the edge. The read option isn't as prolific with him as it is with Murray and with Lamar Jackson. But unlike those 2 guys, he's looking to extend when he gets on the move. He's not really looking to just run like those guys are. So there are different challenges involved. I've talked about that already. We're going to need to really be sound inside, have good gap discipline, because if he sees a crease inside in the A and B gaps, he'll take off running and he won't hesitate. So I think it's going to be imperative that guys stay home. You contain on the edges. You keep gap integrity on the interior, and you just kind of keep him in the pocket and make him uncomfortable. That being said, the Seattle Seahawks are a team fully capable of running the football. They're a physical group up front. They're going to try to mash us in the mouth, and if I wouldn't be shocked to see that 5-man defensive front as we saw against Arizona or San Francisco, and against Cleveland earlier in the season, and against Detroit. I wouldn't be shocked to see that 5-man defensive line again. So will be interesting to see what happens, but we'll have a more extensive breakdown of the game, keys to the game, prediction, all of that good jazz tomorrow. But just a brief look, DK Metcalf scares the shit out of me. Told you guys that already. I'm doubling down on it. Tyler Lockett is a problem. This is going to be, and with no Deshazer Everett, there's going to be a lot of pressure put on our secondary, and I'm anxious to see how they hold up, because you got 2 prolific weapons in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett in that secondary. There's been rumors that Greg Olsen, who looked to be done, all of a sudden magically feels like he can play in Week 15 and is pushing to try to make that happen. That would be a disaster, because he's a difference maker at the tight end position. Not like he used to be, but he still can get the job done better than some of the other guys that they have on the roster. So that would be another weapon added to their arsenal. And they got David Moore and other guys that they can get the football to. They run it effectively. This is a scary team. I'm not looking forward to this matchup, but as Rivera said, it is a measuring stick game. So from that standpoint, I am looking forward to seeing how we stack up with one of the NFC's best, because I told you this already in a separate video. I look at the NFC and I say every single team in the conference is beatable. There is no Kansas City on this side of the bracket. There is no Pittsburgh. And even, we beat Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh was compromised when we saw them. There isn't even a Buffalo on this side of the bracket. I don't know if there's even a Tennessee. And Tennessee's, I'll take that back. There's definitely a Tennessee. But Buffalo's a different breed. Ask Seattle. They destroy them. So, I don't think there's even a Buffalo on this side of the bracket. I think Green Bay, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, this Seattle team. The only team, as I mentioned, because they play such great defense, is the Rams, that I don't know if we played them again, if we would even be close again. So this is a winnable game. But we'll get into the specifics tomorrow on what needs to be done, what are the keys to the game, how to accomplish them, and what the outcome of this game will potentially be. So that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. Looking forward to tomorrow's episode, where we get in depth with this Seattle Seahawks football team and what they bring to the table, and how we will be able to take them down in week number 15. There are going to be some keys that are going to be massive if you want to beat Seattle. We'll get into that tomorrow. But that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me here on Washington Football Nightly. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not, I repeat, not the best NFL coverage it could be. Go ahead and make sure you subscribe to the LouieTeeNetwork for more great content. If you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell, too, while you're at it, so you don't miss a thing. And also, hit that like button if you haven't already done so, and support the LouieTeeNetwork. I greatly appreciate you guys for all that you do for this network, and then some. You guys, take care. Have a good one. I'm your man, Louie T, and this has been Washington Football Nightly. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.